Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending our webinar, Managed IT Services and the Cloud. Today's presenter, Chris Martin, who is the Executive Vice President of Global IP Networks. Jordan Young, Director of Information Technology for Global IP Networks. Global IT Networks has been serving the Dallas-Fort Worth area for 18 years. Chris, Jordan, are you ready?
We're ready. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate it. We will do our best to make a valuable use of the time. Global IP Networks is blessed to be as successful as it has been over the last 18 years, precisely for things like this. The services that we bring to our clients, the solutions that we offer in trying to help them navigate the various offerings that are out there. Our vision has always been to provide advanced IT solutions through simplified and superior technology that exceeds our clients' expectations and adds value to their business. One of the biggest questions that we're going to be asking today and talking about is your IT strategy giving you the competitive advantage you will need to compete, succeed, and win? It's a question that we have to ask ourselves every month. Because as soon as you believe that you have something in place that really gives you a competitive advantage, something happens. We like to say around here a lot, what man makes breaks. And it's how you remediate that issue, the speed at which you remediate that issue, and how you adapt to the change in that environment is really what makes you competitive. That's the advantage that you want. Today, what you're going to learn is three things. You're going to learn how your business can navigate the array of cloud service options. You're going to learn how you can best manage your resources for optimal performance. You're going to learn how you can choose the best option for your growing business, because those options are different for each business. This is where we get exciting because we have choices. We have three choices. And those can look different by the type of business that you're in. You know, what describes the purpose and functionality of each? Which cloud among all of these is available, and which is the right one for your needs? We're going to talk about private, public, hybrid. You know, why in our graphic here, why is hybrid standing out kind of above the rest? What makes it do that? What makes it so special? What exactly does that mean? We're going to try to identify that and make it something that you can wrap your head around and understand. And we're hopeful that you can have a better idea of what might be right for your business once we conclude our time today. Did you know that studies show an increasing number of business and IT executives are turning more of their attention to how they can use technology to accomplish their 2018 business objectives? With 37% currently adapted to the cloud, but it's anticipated 78% will be fully cloud operational by 2020. And what's critical about that is by 2020. So really, we're talking not much more than a year and a half from now. And I'm sure, as with you and us, days turn into weeks and weeks into months very, very, very fast. And with so many businesses, as anticipated, going to the cloud, there's going to be a lot of people that will make the right choices, and some will make choices that maybe aren't as successful as they could have been had they taken the time to really work with an organization that is constantly and has been there and navigated these objectives before and understands what might be right for your business. Public cloud. I've got Jordan Young here with me today. He's one of our critical team members that we count on day to day. He has a vast knowledge of all the cloud offerings, and I invited him on our call today because I think it's important to hear from someone that's in the weeds on this on a weekly basis, someone that is managing our team of people and our architects and our engineers who are helping our clients. And Jordan is one that oversees that and has a great understanding of that. And I thought it would be good to hear from him. So Jordan, We're going to start off with public cloud. It's the most you see talked about. It's what you see commercialized when you're watching entertainment on TV, whether it be sports, TV shows, whatever it may be. You're seeing some kind of cloud offering commercial come on and spit out 30 seconds of jargon. And how people can take 30 seconds of that and know what's going on, I'm not sure. Obviously, you're driven to the website, and then even there, you're a little bit confused on, okay, how do I even do this? How do I navigate these waters? What do I do? So take us through a little bit about public cloud. What should the guests that we have on the call, what should they look at today, and what should they get from public cloud?
Well, first of all, thanks, Chris, for the introduction there and getting to this point. So the public cloud is not a one-size-fits-all solution. That's the first thing to understand. Yes, it's heavily marketed, and I mean, even the word cloud itself is just marketing for using somebody else's computers for our own purposes. But whenever you start looking at the public cloud, it's basically a multi-tenant solution where everybody is containerized within common, generally low-cost hardware. The major providers that you see here on the slide, whether it be Microsoft, whether it be IBM, Google, or Amazon, these different providers that are providing these public cloud services are all doing it with relatively low-cost hardware. And because of that, they're putting a lot of it, and they get a lot of redundancy through there, which is really kind of cool because, yeah, they can share that infrastructure across multiple clients. So, one of the other things that they've kind of put in here is the ability to connect over the internet using VPN solutions so that it can appear on net to your network. What I think is great about this solution is just the fact that it is so inexpensive because you don't have to have leased lines into a data center, and it still can have a pretty good amount of security. But at the same time, it's not really suited for information that needs compliance. Some cloud providers can meet PCI compliance. Some cloud providers can meet HIPAA compliance. But there are many other compliance standards that your business may need that the public cloud may not be able to work with.
Now, go into a little bit more detail about multi-tenant, if you could, for me, because those are some of the things that I envision. A highway, we all have to share the highway. We have lanes in the highway, but you never know when someone's going to drift into your lane or you're going to drift out of yours. I've got to pay attention to what I'm doing. Who's paying attention to what the other guys are doing, and what do I have to count on, or what do I have to be prepared for that could happen in that kind of situation?
Well, a lot of it's about having faith in the provider for making sure that those resources are properly balanced. But at the end of the day, you don't really know that. If you're on one compute node that has a certain amount of memory, that has a certain amount of CPU resources, and let's just say, one of the common worms going around these days is the cryptocurrency mining worms. These are very popular right now. If somebody's machine gets infected, they may be using a whole lot more resources on one server in the cloud, and the cloud providers can't really do anything about the processes that they're running. So it is entirely possible that somebody's infection may actually be impacting you. That's why I really think the public cloud is great for development environments. It's great even for small businesses that don't have to rely on dedicated resources. So it's important to understand that you're not getting a dedicated resource there. It is a shared resource, and it will be impacted by others around you.
So to flip the coin, let's go straight to private. So a lot of the same, some things are, I should say, similar, but there's some of the things you were just talking about are completely different in the private cloud. Go into that for us a little bit, and let's talk through this.
Right. So in the private cloud, you're basically leasing those entire servers. You have become responsible for how you are maintaining those resources, whether it be how provisioned your CPUs are or over provisioned, how provisioned your memory is. And even in some cases, certain hypervisors provide the ability to over provision memory. Same thing with disk. You could over provision your disk resources or actually control your I/O potential. One of the really neat things about private cloud, though, is that whenever you get into the compliance aspect, because it is completely separated and dedicated to just you, you can generally, with a handful of exceptions on the facilities behind the scenes, you can meet compliance standards. So it really is a secured and confidential system. that is dedicated to just you. And ultimately, you then become responsible for still maintaining and monitoring the resources of this cluster. So it's not really as simple as just say, okay, we're going to get a private cloud and it's going to do everything. It still has to be maintained. You still need a proper monitoring system to monitor how those resources are distributed.
So what it sounds like is there's advantages to private, there's advantages to public, and of course, what did someone go and do? They went and said, hey, let's go hybrid. Now, let's not kid ourselves. On today's call, with the time that we have, we're going at 30,000 feet. We're actually up in the clouds, for lack of better words, because there is so much to go on here, and we would love to be able to drive into the detail, into the nitty-gritty of each of these, which we're happy to do and we're hopeful to do with everyone that has these decisions before them. But quickly here, let's talk about hybrid cloud. Let's talk about how we can maximize the benefit of both public and private and meld the two together.
Well, you know, Chris, if there's anything that I love more than LAMP, it's the hybrid cloud. The hybrid cloud is great because you can take a combination of different resources, whether it be public, private, or your own compute resources you may have on site or in-house, and you can marry all of them together. This is great for organizations who need compute resources at a fairly large basis at one time. As an example, think about a company who's rendering movies. They're rendering all of these frames for a movie, and they may have special requirements like large-scale GPU compute requirements. They can utilize these cloud infrastructures to help in the rendering of the data, so that they don't have to bring it on site. They don't have to build up their data centers and scale back after their project is completed. At the same time, the beauty of the hybrid cloud is they're capable of doing all of their storage local and work from their local machines and store the data on their local network, which ultimately means greater performance for those local users. This is also a really good solution for people who need to keep that proprietary data stored in a private facility that meets certain requirements, but the actual processing of the data behind the scenes can be done in a computing farm because the data is never actually leaving and being stored elsewhere.
If nothing else, real quick, I just got it. I love LAMP. I got the Ron Burgundy reference that you gave there, and then you talk into movies and film and storage and GPU. So no, that's good. So if anybody else got that and it took them a few minutes to catch on to what did he just say, then you're my kind of guy because I'd love to sit down with you. So leave it to Jordan and his sense of humor to throw in a Ron Burgundy reference there. But sorry to interrupt. Did you have anything more to say on hybrid there before I move on?
I think that probably the best part about this is we actually have a case study here. We'll talk about it here in a minute.
Awesome. So we've now gone over a little bit about private, public, hybrid, and another did you know, according to an article in Forbes, 74% of tech CFOs say cloud computing will have the most measurable impact on their business yet, and this is what I find very interesting, in a recent survey, just 3% of executives defined their cloud strategies as optimized. What that tells me is there's a lot of people taking advantage of the cloud out there and they're adopting that, but what they're not doing is they're not controlling it in a manner in which it is optimized, in a manner in which it does impact their business, and where they can go to their CFO and say, hey, boss, this actually worked. We actually are saving money. This isn't something that we just saved money on for a couple of months and now it's costing us more. So those are some critical things, and this right here is really important because what it shows us is there are a lot of businesses out there who really, really need to make a move, or they've already made a move, but they really need someone, a trusted advisor, to help them navigate those waters. So I thought that was interesting. We wanted to throw that in there today. So here we are, the challenges. Every business has an IT challenge, and whatever's the top challenge, it may change day to day, it may week to week, month to month. Hopefully not too frequently, but I'm sure that we all go through those challenges and the changes of those. Here, obviously, you have a guy trying to make a leap he's not going to quite make. So what can we do, Jordan, to come in here and bring both sides together so that we can easily hurdle those challenges that we're facing today as it relates to cloud?
Well, just seeing the bullet points here, I think these kind of hit the nail on the head in some of the stories that we've heard from people who've come in to talk to us, and really hit the key points that people are not getting sometimes, or they're getting too much of. So, I mean, let's first of all talk about the cost management aspect. I've come across some clients who they spun up an environment for a couple of weeks, not thinking about it, got a bill for $4,000 for doing so. Or, people who they spun up virtual machines in Sao Paulo, Brazil, whenever, they're just thinking, hey, we need diversity. They weren't thinking about performance. The great thing about, finding an MSP like ourselves is that we can evaluate how you utilize your services and how you utilize your IT infrastructure. And that's ultimately what we bring to the table. We can look at what your business does and say, okay, what kind of availability do you need? Because that can help determine what the cost might be. What is your target client base? I mean, are you an internet-facing company? Or are you just, a attorney's office or a contract firm that does architecture? I mean, different businesses have different requirements in how they even access their data. For that matter, we have an organization that we work pretty closely with that their availability and reliability requirements aren't really all that spectacular, and they can accept a little bit of downtime where other businesses, a minute of downtime can cost them $40,000. Who really wants to lose that? So, we can really evaluate all of that to determine what will best fit your business, and of course can work with you on the integration.
And the integration, I think, is important because we have a lot of clients who come in who have just spent a significant amount of money on infrastructure, and they know they need to make a change, but at the same time, they're struggling with, I don't want to just ditch what I have. And that's where Global IP can come in and really sit down with you and go, let's integrate the two. Let's make sure that we can take advantage of the life that you have remaining on your current infrastructure, and then run the analysis on, does it make sense and what's it look like financially? So case study, what we wanted to do is go into the vault, look at some clients that we've helped in the past. We found one that was interesting in that it's a small business. It's in a rural area. Jordan worked on this one specifically. I wanted to find one that he was intimately involved with, and I wanted to have him run through situations that the client faced, what we did with them, and what the results were. So tell us a little bit about this client.
Well, yeah, I would say intimate is a small word for this one. So in rural areas, one of the things that you have a big problem with is availability. I mean, think about it. Power infrastructure is not really built up to accommodate what people's requirements are. So, these guys, they kind of started with just a single server. It was a single Windows server. They moved into the virtual machine world, but they weren't really optimized in it. At one point, they even had a data catastrophe where they had to send their server off for everything to be rebuilt at a data recovery company. You talk about spending lots of money and cost management, and the cloud comes in really handy there. So ultimately what they did, though, is they outgrew the capabilities of their existing server, which was a 2005 model server back a couple of years ago. They finally got off of it. So what we were able to do, though, is we were able to look at the hypervisor they were using was not a very common one. It had some issues with, we couldn't just pick up the system and move it. So we came in and we started looking at, they were running Microsoft Windows, they were running Red Hat Enterprise Linux, they were running Microsoft SQL Server 2000. So we took all of this information, we were able to come together and find a way to migrate their applications into current hardware, and ultimately, without any cost to them up front. Using the cloud, they were capable of migrating to having 100% of their completely must-be-up 100% servers into the cloud, into a great offering from one of the major cloud providers. And they've had minimal issues with it. We were capable of evaluating what hardware they had on site so that we could determine how to connect their infrastructure into the cloud infrastructure. And of course, that was able to make it so that they had even less costs to getting up and running. Now, they do have on-site infrastructure as well for some of their development needs and for non-critical infrastructure. But it was great for us to be able to look at this completely from the top down and be able to determine what would work best for them to meet their uptime requirements. Whenever I mentioned that 100% uptime requirement, since they moved into the cloud, they've had, I think, 2 hiccups, and most of them have been between midnight and 6 a.m., which isn't really critical.
And what I think is important here over the things that you've talked about regarding this particular client is that what we really allowed them to do is speed up this transition. When I look at businesses and we evaluate them, whether it's an accounting issue, an IT issue, whatever the issue may be, a lot of it comes down to speed. You don't want to, now you don't want to give up functionality, and you don't want to give up your performance on so much when it comes to, hey, do I want this done fast, this project done fast? But most people spin their wheels in the mud, and not that they will not figure it out eventually, but it takes them so long because, again, they have a day job. They're running a business. They're managing a business. They're managing a team. They don't have the resources they need. So what we're able to do is really not so much of a vendor, but it's a partner to come in and partner with our clients and sit down and architect out the right solution for them and tell them why we believe it's the right solution for them and show them how they're going to speed up that process. And then even ongoing, how do you help them manage that? They may or may not have the necessary talent on staff to be able to do that. Well, how do we help them do that fractionally? Because it doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes to go hire an FTE to manage just this one thing that may take a few hours a month in some cases, and in some other cases, maybe many hours. And we try to help them navigate those waters. So I appreciate you going over that. Now, throughout the conversation, many of you have sent in some questions to us, which I appreciate. I'm glad that you did. Lacey's been keeping track of those for us. What she's going to do is she's going to throw out some of those questions from us, and we're going to talk about that. So, Lacey, what do you got for us?
Thank you, Chris. We do have a couple of questions. Our first question is, we're not an IT company, but we need IT to support our business of building widgets. We're a small business that wants to grow. I don't even want to think about IT, cloud, or uptime. I just want it to work so I can run my core business. Where do I start?
That's a good question. Well, the first step you need to take is you've already taken the first step, and that's asking questions. I've got a saying that he who asks a question is a fool for 5 minutes, but he who doesn't is a fool forever. And that has stuck with me for many, many, many years. It didn't make sense to me when I heard it when I think I was 14 when I first heard that, but since then it has made a lot of sense. And the first step is asking the question. Secondly, you want to do a little bit of due diligence online, doing some research, but organizations like Global IP Networks, we have a vast team of systems engineers, network architects, solution architects that can sit down with you and understand that you have a business to run, and we can look and evaluate what IT you have in place now, what your budgets are, what makes sense for your business, and we can sit there and say, okay, these are all the things that support your business from an IT standpoint. Let us look at taking control over those. How do we help you manage these things? Here are some things that are core to your business, core to the business from an IT perspective. If you don't have someone on staff that can address those on a daily basis, we certainly do. So there's a lot of things that we can come and say, hey, you're going to focus 100% on widgets. And the good news is we're going to make sure it works. And let's not kid ourselves. Like I said before, what man makes will break. It's the speed at which you respond and how you remediate that issue is what sets you apart from the others. We're very, very fortunate at Global IP Networks to have a response time in under 2 minutes. That's through a help ticket. If you call into our help desk, you're getting that's getting picked up by a live person in our corporate headquarters in under 9 seconds. So we have an extremely fast response time to any situations that may occur. As well, we're constantly monitoring and managing and maintaining clients 24/7, everything from top down. So the first step is having someone come in there that can help you navigate those waters and illustrate for you what might make sense from that perspective. Let's go 1 or 2 more questions real quick.
Thank you, Chris. We have another question here. How do I determine what's best for my applications? public, private, hybrid, or none of the above?
You know what? I'll take this one from you, Chris, because yeah, that is a bit more technical. So really, it does come down to an evaluation of a lot of metrics. If you're wanting to take a look at this on your own, really, it's about understanding, first of all, depending on what operating system you're running, checking what resources are being utilized. This includes things like how busy are your disks, how busy is your CPU and your machine, and again, how much memory is being used. So, really, it becomes pretty cumbersome for an individual to really evaluate all of that data, and that's why we recommend an MSP.
Perfect. Straight answer. I like it. Usually it's a little bit long and winded from Jordan, but he did good today. Okay, give me one more real quick. I feel like I'm going to get a standing ovation today, and people are going to want me to come back on stage. So rather than go through that, I'm going to hang out here for another 30 seconds.
Yeah, you sound like you've seen Gwyneth Paltrow today.
You know what? She and I have to talk because of the kids. So, okay, give me one more real quick, Lacey.
Here we go. One more question. How does the cloud network help me with my downtime?
Ooh, that's a good one. So, one of the things about an MSP coming in that we like to emphasize is the fact that we can look at what service offerings are available at one or many sites. We just recently had an evaluation come through here for a clinic that had 11, I believe it was, locations throughout the Dallas and Fort Worth area. We were able to look at what service offerings were available in each of those locations and come up with solutions that included backup connectivity even to make sure they were connected to the internet. In addition, they would have multi-point VPNs between their sites, or in some cases, dedicated connectivity to those sites. So, really an MSP comes in and evaluates what the options are to each of those sites to keep you connected to your site if it's needed. This was actually a compliance requirement as well. It was HIPAA. So, we were able to go to each carrier, get quotes on that, and hand that off as well. So whenever it comes down to the availability aspect in this one, it was going to be a private cloud. It was going to be multi-provider, meaning we were looking all the way from the firewall all the way down to make sure that this client met all of their compliance requirements. Whenever your provider can actually look at compliance requirements for your business, that's huge.
Perfect. There's quite a few more questions we have. We don't have the time to go into all of those today. I'm sorry. I wish we did. The good news is that you can contact us. We're happy to go over those with you guys, and definitely we'll make time for you and as much as we can. Looking at all of this, I think we've made a lot of sense and a lot of headway just in the short time we've had on the call today about a managed service in the cloud. It's a game changer. How we support it 24/365. How we, from a security and vulnerability, disaster recovery and business continuity, how efficient, cost effective are all of these challenges. So Jordan, real quick, go over some of this real quick. We have just about give me a minute on how we can address the challenges. What are the keys to addressing these four?
Well, one of the things that Global IP Networks does is we do have a network operations center that's staffed 24 hours a day, 365 and a quarter days a year. So we even hit those leap years just perfectly. And really these guys, they're trained in how to evaluate everything that you're doing. You submit a ticket with a question, they'll respond back. If the person who answers it doesn't have the answer, then hey, guess what? They're going to escalate it. That's just how things work. And it's all about having a proper chain of command. So, in terms of handling the disaster recovery and business continuity, we can work with you to put together what those plans look like, whether it be leasing another office down the road or whether it be utilizing a facility. You would never actually imagine it, but many data centers and co-location providers have business continuity spaces available either on a first come, first serve or on a per day basis to keep your businesses running. I mean, hey, that's what we're here for.
Exactly. That's what we have, right? We have those offices and facilities that our clients do utilize almost on a daily basis. And those are open to every one of our clients to utilize in the event that they need it from a disaster recovery, business continuity, or they just need a place to sit and work. So it's funny who we see come in and sit down and do a few hours of work here in our Business Continuity Center. So moving on from there, what is it we do? We're going to evaluate and understand your current environment. We're going to plan and implement the right program for your business. We're going to increase data security and reliability. We're going to provision cloud services. Is that public? Is it private? Is it hybrid? It's going to be what's right for your business. And then we're not just going to leave you alone and set it and forget it. We're going to provide ongoing support and strategic planning because your business will change. Your business will grow. You'll add on new services. How will you need to adapt to that? And then we're going to give you predictable costs to that. And that's what we're here for. So our special offer is we want to come in and talk to you. We want to sit down and learn about your business. We want to know what it is that you do. I find it fascinating to come into your office and hear more about those businesses. There's no obligation whatsoever. We provide that free assessment and consultation to you. We're going to give you a solution that we feel like is going to benefit you and going to benefit your organization. And we can talk about that as long as you need to and go over that and look at all of the different options. And we're going to be there with you along the way to help you navigate those waters of the cloud. I appreciate everybody on the call today. Thank you so much. You can reach us at 844-248-2008. Please go online, learn more about us at gipnetworks.com, and we'll see you on our next webinar in just a few months. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.